So, a lot of people seem to be retiring lately, and I use retiring in quotations because in a lot of cases, it's not a true retirement. They're not stepping away from content forever. It's more so a significant shift in someone's approach to their content. I am, of course, one of these people, and admittedly, I brought the retirement misconception onto myself by titling the video retirement. But what I didn't anticipate was for this to be followed several weeks later by other channels retiring, which then resulted in other videos like this one discussing the topic of YouTuber retirement, in which my name was brought up, leading many people to assume that I would be disappearing from the internet forever. Funny enough, I've had a few people come into my Twitch chat and say that they'll miss me when I'm gone. My streams and VODs are, of course, a form of my content that will be continuing on as usual, but I appreciate the sentiment and that they care. Again, though, I can admit that I may have brought this on myself. But anyway, I'm not here to make another video letting you know that you can still watch 2 videos a day going up on Captain Sparkles 2, but rather to have a discussion about the recent trend in retirements, of which I am a part of, which makes it kind of meta. Am I allowed to do that? Well, it's happening. So for those out of the loop, maybe you just watch me, and I'm flattered, frankly, but there is other great content out there on YouTube for you to watch. So let's list off some of the other higher profile retirements that have occurred since my video, along with some context for each of them. There is, of course, MatPat, who's stepping back from his on-camera role, but will still be involved in theories behind the scenes. Moose Knuckle, who's stepping back from YouTube for a different full-time job. Meat Canyon, who's focusing more on his second channel and reserving his main channel only for uploads he's very proud of, which is kind of similar to what I'm doing, actually. And Tom Scott, who gave a year's heads up about his plan, and literally flew off into the sunset in the greatest send-off video I think I've ever seen, and after watching it, I kind of feel like I haven't done anything with my life. If I'm missing any others, you'll have to forgive me, but obviously all this over the course of just a few weeks is quite a lot. So is it a coincidence? Is it a conspiracy? Did YouTube change something recently to upend things? I think in this case, a lot of the timing can be chalked up to coincidence, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we see this happening more in coming years. And there's a few reasons for that. None of them super dramatic, but still interesting to go into, I think. One thing you need to understand about making content for the internet is that time goes by really fast. I've always said that content creator lifespan should be measured in dog years because the pace at which trends and platform changes take place is so rapid that by the time that you've got into a groove and you're feeling comfortable, something else has changed that you need to react to. This is only accelerated as the years have passed and the scene has become more competitive. Being successful in content creation requires you to dedicate your entire life to it, because guess what? If you're not, someone else is, and they're going to have a much better chance of their content breaking through. And once you've broken through, guess what? You don't want to lose that, so you feel compelled to invest even more time. And if you're not me, possibly hire and scale up operations, because even the channels out there that you think are pillars of the YouTube space are terrified that their next upload is going to flop and that their time on the internet is going to be over. Success in this space always feels, and in some cases is, fleeting. Now, I'm not here to say, boo-hoo, my life and the lives of other content creators is so difficult versus a traditional 9-to-5. To the contrary, I think I'm very lucky, and that if I started doing this today, I probably wouldn't have much of a shot, and I've been able to do it a lot longer than I ever expected. But as with running any organization, the buck stops with you, and even if it doesn't involve carrying physical weight, the additional mental toll can definitely add stress in day-to-day life. This is also a relatively new space that's evolved very quickly. 14 years ago when I started, while a majority of people knew of YouTube, it was seen as a place to watch an occasional cat video or viral video, but most people would laugh at the idea of having a channel and releasing consistent videos. Now, a majority of kids growing up say they want to be a YouTuber, or maybe it's TikToker now, but social media related, you get the idea. I don't know if there's ever been another period in history where over 14 years a career went from it didn't exist to the majority of kids want to do it when they grow up. Anyway, well, obviously there are already channels that have come and gone throughout the years. I think what we're seeing now is perhaps the first look at the true life cycle of a content creator. Most of the folks who started making content earlier on in the history of the platform did so simply because they wanted to share an interest with no expectation that it would ever turn into a career. And now the lucky few who were able to turn that into a career that produced untold millions in income are likely weighing the need to continue bearing the burden of steering a ship through such rapidly evolving, algorithmically sorted, corporatized waters. A lot can change in over a decade, and a lot of these people probably started their channels when they were on their own, and now they may have families and kids, and they're deciding it's finally time to step back from the grind and focus elsewhere. And then there's me. But we're talking generalities here. This batch of retirements isn't the first either. We've seen other notables in gaming like PewDiePie and Dan TDM who've both taken steps back in the last couple of years to focus on their family, and it's something we'll likely see continuing as more people reach this point in their life cycles. Like I said in my own video, sure, I could try to hire employees and pivot my content in the hopes of satisfying the current generation of new Minecraft viewers, but at this point in my life, it's just not what I want to do. I started this my way because it was a hobby I enjoyed, and I've reached a point where I'm lucky enough to be able to continue doing things my way and focusing on content I'm interested in instead of having to try to chase the algorithm. It definitely took me a while to convince myself that this was okay to do, but I got there eventually. And don't get me wrong, it still feels really good to have a video perform, and it always will. But I think for myself and others, we perhaps don't want to have to feel accountable to do that on a scheduled basis. It's easy to look at the past through rose-tinted glasses and think about so-called simpler times. But in the case of YouTube, over a decade ago, things genuinely were much more simple. As I've said, it takes a lot of effort to keep up with the times, and we were bound to start seeing some creators decide to take a step back at some point along the way. Some people's careers will be a flash in the pan, hot knife videos or something, or maybe some of the hot knife video channels are still going strong with other trends. I haven't kept up. Other people will keep at things for decades, but I assume over time we'll start to see a bell curve of career duration as this industry matures. The people posting their first video today who go on to be the household names of the next decade will certainly have their challenges. I think starting today is a way more difficult, stressful task than when I began. And while I'd argue that the more major shifts in the creator landscape are probably behind us as it's already gone from hobbyist to mainstream, it would be unwise to discount the potential for big surprises happening in the future. I, for one, would have never imagined that since 2020, years after Vine shut down, that vertical short-form video would completely take over the online video landscape. And I bring this up not just because Vine fumbled the bag really badly, but that if I had to speculate, it may be a catalyst for some of the retirements happening at an accelerated pace, and maybe some more to come in the near future. It's not to say that short-form content is inherently bad, but it has created a really big shift in behavior for both audiences and platforms. I won't go too deep here because it could easily make for a standalone video, but MatPat is already pretty relevant to our discussion here, and I watched a video of his recently actually that was talking about how short-form content is kind of removing a lot of identity from the creator. With long-form content on YouTube, you have to make an active choice to click on a video, or maybe you search out a particular channel to watch their content. With TikTok, on the other hand, you don't say, oh, I'm gonna go watch so-and-so on TikTok. You just say, I'm gonna watch TikTok. YouTube Shorts has introduced the same passive viewing experience to this platform, and we know they had to compete with TikTok, and it's been a resounding success for YouTube as a company, but from a creator standpoint, it's really difficult to make meaningful connections with an audience through YouTube Shorts. And you'll notice a lot of creators who are Shorts focused have a really hard time translating that into interest on any long form videos they post. At the same time, YouTube's marketing machine is saying, hey, everybody out there, long form creators, Shorts are the way to grow. You should be posting Shorts. And so you'll have channels who are like, okay, so I guess I need to hire people to help me produce shorts, but the shorts don't generate revenue and they also don't translate into people watching my long form content, but I'm supposed to be doing this. And it's easy to get overwhelmed by that. Anyway, I don't want to get carried away here and dive too deep, but I think a lot of the long-term creators don't really want to play the game anymore if they don't have to, and perhaps it's not the only factor contributing to people's state of minds, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it's a significant source. All that said, I think it's good to see people feeling like they can make a healthy decision to step back when the time is right. It's not an easy thing to do. For most people, myself included, their channel is their life's work, and the idea of stepping back can feel like you're letting yourself down as well as everybody who has watched you along the way. I remember when I first got partnered with Machinima and I was able to start making money on my own videos, I was way more excited that my channel would now have the custom banner with links in it than I was about making money. And I think that mentality is still present in a lot of the earlier generation creators, in that no matter how much money might be in the bank, the idea of retiring feels like you're neglecting something that you have put all of your life's effort into. I also think that's why in very few cases is the retirement a true retirement, but more so a means of rediscovering how it felt to post videos in the very beginning when there was no obligation and no one else accountable. And that's all I have for now. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.